and welcome. This is Sunday City Sundays, and I am Roz Lydian. I am in my second of the 12 cities. This is the Mine Colony, New Mombasa, roofed forest city, which started as a colony and is now quite a big city. It's big. Um, so we are in City Hall. We are going to talk about the largest family in New Mombasa, which is the Astley family. And we're going to start with the book. So I'm going to change my view right now. So, um, when New Mombasa started as a colony, um, there were children, and it was the first colony to start when children were in the picture. And so, what happened was we had four adults. We had Logan, who Elena is in his position. Logan, London, James, and Ariana, and they started living together right away, and so children started coming immediately, and we only ended up with the four names in this city. So this city is a very close knit city, four families, and we are going to start with the largest of those right now, the Astley family. And I'm going to go out, well, let's go out this door over here. Let's see if this is the door. Yes, let's go here. We're going to go past some construction. Ah, ah, perfect timing. This building that we're going past just got finished to a level 5. It is a new delivery service for Edmund Barrett, who is our oldest delivery person, most experienced delivery person, and he is getting a new place. And it just so happens to be right here where we want to start. This is the Astley house. Now, this is the roofed forest, and I will rise up for a moment to show the roofed forest city of New Mombasa. This is the entire city right here. Most of it is in the forest, but we always had this lawn area. And we knew when we had this lawn that we were going to have some farm families. And so one of the first houses that we built was this house. And the primary reason that we built it was because it was actually brand new at the time. The design, it is an update of the wooden house design, and this house was the house that Logan Astley, Logan Sr., moved into when his kids arrived. And his kids, we're going to go to the Akasha Records right now and look at his kids. His kids were Cuthbert, was his first kid, Reynold, Logan Jr., and Linda, and they were all raised in this house. So Cuthbert, Logan started out as a builder, and when he started out as a builder, his builder's hut was actually located on a spot where it's no longer. What happened was, yes, let's go this way. What happened was when the city hall burned down and was rebuilt just around that same time. Cuthbert decided he wanted a new builder's hut. So he built a new hut right here, but this is where his father's builder's hut was originally positioned. It was right off of the city hall, and it was on this road. And so when Logan started, he built some of the first buildings, but almost immediately he found that he did not like building, and his son took over when he grew up because Cuthbert decided that what he really wanted to do was be in school. So there used to be a school sitting right here where the Magical Arts Foundation is now. There used to be a school here, and it was the original university. It was first school. You went here from prep school on through to university. It wasn't for a long time before we got a second school. And so Logan was the dean of that school. And he, all the time that he raised his kids in this house, he lived, he lived, all the time that he worked at the school that was right here. So this was his commute. He came up here, and the school was here. A little coffee shop was here, and this was his world at that particular time. And then there, many years later, after his kids were all grown and he was still dean, there became this focus that the university wanted to focus on the city of New Mombasa, wanted the university to focus on magical arts. And that was primarily what Logan wanted to have happen. And so a magical arts tower was built for Logan, and the very first one that was built was, it was decided was built out of town. And I think it's because they weren't really sure what it was going to entail. They were a little bit afraid, and so they decided to build the Magical Arts Tower right here where this guard tower sits today. As a matter of fact, this guard tower sits on the ruin of the Magical Arts Tower. You can see the footprint of the original tower underneath this guard tower right here. And this was Logan's greatest accomplishment, that he actually got them to focus on magical arts. And while he was here, let me see, Clements was living in a dark oak house right here. She had finally decided to move out of an apartment and live in a dark oak house. And at the same time that she decided this, he had just moved, Logan Astley had just moved from the house that he had lived in all those years into an apartment here because he wanted to be close, obviously, close to his new tower, his new magical arts tower. So he lived here, and he was watching one of the builders renovate this house and make it a new home when he had this idea that he could have a house like this, that he wanted to be able to have a secret entrance from his house, and he thought it could be located right here. The secret entrance run downstairs into the ground and then come out in the lower section of this magical arts tower. And it was a wonderful idea, and in the process of this house being built, it was sort of explored, putting a stairwell, actually a ladder, down as far as the first floor of the Magical Arts Tower, because Logan had had the first two floors of the tower be down underground. So the tunnel was going to be built to match up to the first floor. And when they were building the tunnel for him, he bought the house from Clements. Clements actually sort of decided, after she saw the size of the house, that she was a little overwhelmed with it, and that she liked her little tiny apartment that she had had in the Acacia Apartments, and she went back to living there, and he bought this house from her and started living here. He went down into the tunnel that was built here specifically because a discovery was made. And the discovery was a cavern that went out into a tunnel, and he thought he had found a ruin, but it turned out that it was actually the miner, Thaddy Jr. It was one of his tunnels that the miner, who is over here, one of his tunnels had actually reached that far. Let's see, we can go through the ore smeltery and come out right here where the mine is. So one of Thaddy's tunnels had reached all the way over to that area of the city underground. And when Logan realized that, he had gotten so excited about the idea of finding some ancient tunnel that he realized that he had made a mistake, that he should have built the Magical Arts Tower where Near Castle was. And Near Castle is the origin of the city. When I first found this land, Near Castle was a dungeon here. It was a small dungeon, and Vincentius Primus made it into a residence and made it so that I could actually have some some buildings, so I was in survival and I needed things. So what happened was, he came in here and he decided that he wanted to rebuild a magical arts tower right on the spot of the dungeon Near Castle. because he knew that the old dungeons, were still there. So what he did was he once again had the foundation paid for the castle to be rebuilt, and it's rebuilt exactly the way the original castle was, except it's not decorated the same. The original castle, the original magical arts tower, which this tower is the oak arts tower, was, when it was on the other side of the city, had been finished in purpur, but this one was finished in stone after it was built, and we will explain why in just the beginning. But this is what the tower was like in the old location, that when you came downstairs, you came down underground, and this was supposed to enable you to be able to go be connected to the dungeons. And that's what he had in mind. And so, because he needed to live in this area now, he thought about living back in the house. This is the whole tower. He thought about living back in the house where he had raised his kids and where he had lived when he was working at the university. But it would have involved, he still wanted to have the secret tunnel, and having it from this house would have involved tearing up the kitchen or tearing up one of the rooms downstairs or making an extension on the house, and he didn't really want to do that. Besides, he had fallen in love with that style of house that was over, that dark oak style. So what he did was have London, one of the builders, build him a dark oak style house right here. And this is the house that was built for him. And this was his living area here, living and dining. And then upstairs here was his bedroom right here. This was his bedroom. At the time when he was in this bedroom, he had a much smaller bed, just a single bed, and a desk, more of a workspace. And he was living here, but he had made friends with a student named Gianna, and Gianna was very interested in what he was interested in. She wanted to study in the dungeons too, Gianna Jervil. And so when Logan moved out of the apartments where Gianna also lived, Gianna approached him and said that she would be his housekeeper, and she would like to live near the magical arts tower and continue to work with him. And he agreed. He agreed because he knew he could give her this separate apartment right here where she could sleep and work. And she also had she had use of the balcony. He didn't really care about this. He was just interested in spending time in the tower. And he was interested in the other aspect of this house, that this house actually did complete putting in a secret entrance. And here it is right here. And when the house was finished and the entrance, oh, I heard a sound. When the house was finished, it's not going to let me back upstairs, is it? When the house was finished, and the tower started to be worked on, I actually just wanted to close this door. There we go. It was discovered that the house was perfectly positioned to take advantage of one of the original dungeon corridors. So this corridor right here is one of the original dungeon corridors. And if I act spooked, I'm spooked because of my new city in Minecolonies 15, where I do not have peace with the mobs. And so I've gotten back into the habit of being actually a little jittery when I start hearing mobs. Here we are at peace with them. This is Lord Barthelius's original dungeon tower, and these are the original steps for the dungeon. And this is the mushroom garden and the nether garden for the magical arts tower. And these stairs right here go right up into the oak tower, oak magical arts tower. Now, when Logan started investigating the dungeon, he found the original plans and manuscripts that showed drawings of what the original tower, the original near castle. Hello, Harrison. The entire castle looked like when it was first done. And he was so excited about this that the foundation began to collect, get funding to have the entire castle restored. So while he was collecting all this information, he was at his desk and at his books right here. He was at his desk and at his books right here when the tower caught on fire and burned to the ground. And as a matter of fact, when it did, he wasn't aware. He was so he was so concentrating on what he was doing that he didn't realize the place was on fire until too late. He was trapped here and he actually lost his life. So Harrison Gomershall and Gianna have continued his studies, continued working on building and restoring Near Castle to its original, to its full original look and feel, including sourcing the original materials of the castle and all of that until they now have the entire castle rebuilt. And so it is now a legacy for Logan, who lost his life. Now his kids, Cuthbert is the oldest, and he continued as a builder. Cuthbert did, and Cuthbert chose as his chosen. Cuthbert and Julia chose each other, and they built a house. And one of the first dark oak houses that was built was Cuthbert's house, and it has been renovated recently, but it was a house that was right here. As a matter of fact, you can see that it is the old house, the old style of this house. Cuthbert is home, and this is his bedroom now. This house was just recently renovated to give Cuthbert and Wilmot, his new chosen, more space and more room for the two of them to enjoy. So this is their home, but this is where Cuthbert and Julia raised their kids, and Cuthbert and Julia lived here together, and they had two children, Philip and Annabelle. And Philip and Annabelle were raised in this house, and when they were grown, Cuthbert's Julia decided that she wanted to be a knight. We still were at war with the jungle lords and the swamp lords at the time. And even though not so much with Lord Barthelius on the plains, but she wanted to join in, and there used to be a barracks where the university sits right now, and she was going to join the barracks. This is the university, but you can see these two trees right here. This dark oak tree and this dark oak tree were the original trees of the barracks that used to sit here. But the city decided to have a militia instead of a standing army, and the barracks was torn down. But because Julia had chosen to become a knight, Cuthbert was not very happy about not seeing his chosen on a regular basis because she was a knight, and Cuthbert had already committed to raising some of his grandchildren in this house, and so he and Julia agreed to split, and Julia actually joined Cuthbert's brother, Ranald, as I always say Ranald, but it's probably Renauld, but Ranald as a ranger. She did not become a knight, she actually became a ranger, and Cuthbert then went on to be chosen with Wilmot. Now, Wilmot is Ariana's baby girl, and she liked Cuthbert enough to finish raising his grandchildren with him, and has been with him ever since. And they are actually really happy living here. They moved out for a while when their grandchildren had children and they needed a bigger house, but they have moved back in to the house, and after all of the renovations, they didn't really change their bedroom, but they did change the upstairs to make it possible for any of the kids to come home, or any of the grandkids or great-grandkids to stay at the house. And this is probably the most elaborate, well, actually, Gavin Sr.'s house is pretty elaborate too, but this is one of the newest builds, using a lot of the new materials and both Wilmot and Cuthbert really liked this house. So that is Cuthbert. Reynold, who is the second oldest, went into the military right away as a ranger. And as I said, when Julia decided to be a knight, he asked Julia to be his partner, ranger, I'm sorry, to be his partner, because in the barracks you had to have a partner, and you were assigned a specific barracks tower. And so Julia and Reynold shared a tower as partners, but then later, much later, after Cuthbert was with Wilmot, Reynold felt confident enough that they were separated to ask Julia to be with him. And so speaking of Reynold, there's Reynold right now. So when the when the military was disbanded and a militia was put in place, Reynold and Julia decided to have, they needed to have civilian jobs. So Reynold went to Charles, the stonemaker, and talked about expanding Charles's stonemaking business so that there would be a crushing plant and a sifting plant, and he and another Marine who also needed a job, Hunter, decided to run this part of Charles's stoneworks. And so this is where Reynold works now, and Julia went back to teaching. She had been a teacher when she was raising kids, and she decided to be a teacher again. And for a while, they were living in a dark oak apartment that used to be right here, a dark oak house. But it was torn down because they wanted to build a new house, and they sold the land to for a bakery to be built here, and they built an entirely new house over here. Now Julia is a teacher at the new university, and following in her dad-in-law, her dad-in-law's footsteps. She is a teacher at the university, and the university is a jungle build, and she liked that kind of design, and so she decided that she was going to have a jungle house, and Reynold was fine with that. They did not have any kids, and they didn't really need, he wasn't really concerned, but Julia had kids, and she wanted a place where they could come. So this is their brand new house. It is a jungle design, but it is the first jungle design to close in this bedroom back here, and they're both asleep. So I'm going to show you the upstairs first. The upstairs is just set up so that if family, Julia's children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren, came to visit, they would have use of the upstairs. And the deck overlooks the grove. Is that just a soldier? Yeah, those are just soldiers there. I was curious. It almost looks like that's a lord of the swamp standing there, but I can't tell if that's an enchanted bow or not. Let's see. So this was set up upstairs so that if her kids came, they could stay in this bedroom right here, or they could stay in the other bedroom. So it was really, oops, my mouse, my mouse is going crazy. Okay, it was really set up so that the kids could come and be here if they wanted to visit, and it's very newly built, so it takes advantage of a lot of the new construction, of having a bathroom, as a matter of fact. And this is their bathroom in here, and their sink and shower, and having the stairwell be opened up and having glass, which makes the stairwell much, much nicer. And then having their bedroom be on the main floor, because the two bedrooms upstairs are single use bedrooms, so they can't sleep together upstairs. But another bed was added down here so that two people could sleep down here. So they closed off this room to make the bedroom, the third bedroom, down here to give them some privacy. So that is Reynold, Logan's second son. This is where he lives. And then there's Linda. So Logan's third child is Linda. And Linda took care of her dad. She stayed home and took care of her dad for years and years and years. Let me see if it is. I'm just curious. Because look at this rating. Sure enough, it is one of the lords. And there's his two soldiers with him and a zombie. That's usually, if they were doing a raiding party, that would be a raiding party, but we are at peace with them. So they are not doing that. They're just spying on us. But as I said, we're at peace. So that's why Gavin feels comfortable going out and chopping wood in his grove. But Linda remained in this house right here. And she lived in this house until Logan Sr. decided that he was moving out. And when he moved out, Simon, who is, just a minute, let me see who, I'd have to look and see, but I know where to go for that. Simon Sr. came to Linda and said that he wanted to exchange houses with her because he had a new son and they needed more room than this house would provide, because this is only a one bedroom. And even though Simon and Martha had raised their girls in this one bedroom, they decided at this point, I know, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. My mouse is sort of being a little twitchy. So Linda moved into this house and she lived here. And while she was living here, she decided that she was going to be a farmer and that she wanted to raise sheep. So she actually began a sheep farm, and this is it. So Logan's baby girl became a sheep farmer, and her first farm she renovated so that she could have this office up here. Which is really nice, and she did not have, wow, Look at that axe. She did not have in her original farm. It also gave her a little bit more land. She originally had the sheep up in a farm area up top, and then she changed it to having the sheep downstairs. This gate is open. Let's close this gate. I probably opened it just now, but this is her sheep farm, and it's greatly expanded to give the sheep plenty of room and space, and have all the sheep's needs met. And when she is getting ready for market, she has a larger number of sheep. Right now, it looks like she's in the process of growing her herd, or her, what do you call a group of sheep? So, so she, this is her place, and she has been very content to live by herself and to be here all these years. And then something happened. Fatty, who, who Fatty Senior, who had a last child with Annabelle, his ex, actually his ex chosen, but he got together with her one time, and she had Jasmine, and they didn't acknowledge Jasmine because Annabelle was with Tyler, and she did not want to leave Tyler to raise Jasmine with Fatty. Fatty was a commander anyway of the militia, and so she did not want to live by herself with a commander. She wanted to be with Tyler. So Linda took Jasmine and is raising Jasmine. And Jasmine lives here with Linda. She has her own bedroom upstairs. And they moved back into this house after Simon Jr. moved out, and Simon and Senior and Martha wanted their old house back. They loved that house. Simon Senior actually built that other house for himself. So Linda was happy to move back here and get a new kitchen, and actually raise Jasmine as kind of as her own. Now, Jasmine knows who her parents are, and she can go visit them at any time except her dad. Her dad, unfortunately, is gone, but she knows where her mother is, and she's fine with being raised with Linda. When she was given the choice as a young adult where she could move wherever she wanted, she decided to stay with Linda because she knew that Linda was living by herself and her mother was living with Tyler. So she chose to stay with Linda. She is in school, Jasmine is, but because school's on vacation, she is out and she's restless. So she is trying to find her way, find a job, and do all the things that young people do. So that is a portion of the large family that is the Asleys. That is the at least the first generation and their kids. So that's Linda and Reynold and Cuthbert and Logan Jr., who, how did I forget Logan? That's so funny. For each of these cities now, I've forgotten one of the kids. So Logan Jr. he decided to be a farmer, and he actually decided to be a farmer before Linda got her sheep farm. I think it was because Logan was so happy as a farmer that she decided to be a farmer too. Um, Logan Jr. Began a sugar farm right down here on the coastline. And this is the second sugar farm that he had. The first sugar farm was located where the new prep school is, right on this property. I'm passing over the new prep school. And Logan chose Beatrice, who is named after her grandmother, Beatrice. And so they call her BB. And Logan Jr. and BB moved into this house to share it with Ariana and her son Edmund. And Ariana and Edmund had this floor. They lived on this floor. So Ariana was in this room, and Edmund was in this room. It did have a bed. Now it has a pull-out couch, and um, BB and Logan Jr., they had this whole floor upstairs for their own, and they had even this balcony was also with this beautiful view. And so they lived here, and when BB was chosen by BB and Logan Jr. chose each other. BB decided that she was going to be a farmer too, and she began having a melon and pumpkin farm right on this spot right here. This stone right here is what's left of the outline of her fields before BB and Logan sold the farm to the city so the university could be built on it. Now, when that happened, Logan's sugar beet field was saved. It was outside of the area that they wanted to use for the prep school, but his sugarcane field used to be right here, and that was torn down. He had it rebuilt over here, and he had a new barn rebuilt after the prep school was finished. So this was Logan's new barn. BB, on the other hand, she wanted to continue farming. She didn't care what she grew at this point, and so the university asked her to take over the lab. This is actually the university's growing lab. So BB actually runs the lab, meaning that she actually takes care of the actual growing plants in this area, and this is her lab right here. And on the roof she has, I don't know whether she does anymore. Yes, she does. She has plants that the students are experimenting with and growing at the prep school. So she is not a teacher. She only maintains the growing lab. The teacher is actually Aubrey, who used to have a flower shop. This used to be a flower shop here, but after the prep school was built, she became a teacher, a professor, and this became the lab for the prep school. So that is Logan Jr. And Logan Jr. and BB, they actually have kids, um, just as Cuthbert had kids. Linda's the only one actually who didn't. Actually, Linda and Reynold did not have kids. Reynold does not have any kids. Julia had kids with Cuthbert, but Reynold did not. So both Linda and Reynold didn't have any children. So all of Logan's grandchildren and great grandchildren are actually from BB and Logan Jr. and from Cuthbert and Julia. Now, uh, when Edmund chose Susanna, he moved out of the house and all of Ariana's kids were gone. So Ariana moved in with her chosen, Joan, who had a house in town, and she gave BB and Logan the entire house. And so they live here. They've lived here all this time. And then Edmund was renovating his dark oak house for Susanna and him to live in. He actually had the dark oak house that was torn down that Julia and Reynold moved into was originally Edmund's house, and Edmund and Susanna moved in with BB and Logan Jr. just until the house was supposed to be finished, and then they ended up staying here because they enjoyed living together. So now, in now, I believe, well, we can go up and see actually. On the first floor are Susanna and Edmund, and upstairs on the second floor are BB and Logan Jr. They have the upstairs apartment now. So that is, and I know that you don't understand the significance of this, but it's pretty amazing that they are sleeping with to get together with their chosens, because when you have two double beds and four people, who knows who's going to end up in the bed. So I just am very happy, and that's a wonderful place to end this. That they are together the way they are supposed to be in that house, and I'm very happy with that. We'll continue talking about the largest family in New Mombasa, which turns out to be the Asleys. As we do other families, we'll meet members of their families. But that's it for New Mombasa Sunday City Sundays. I hope you'll join me later today when I also do New Masekwe, the last 12th city. And until then, thank you for joining and enjoy watching all the other gamers. Bye for now. Bye for now.